Hey everybody, so have you guys noticed Deltarune is a pretty good game? Despite not even being finished, it is quickly becoming one of my favorite games, and I just had to make a ranking about it. But the game isn't done yet, so even though there are a lot of stuff I could talk about, I figured it'd be better to just talk about the chapters we've gotten so far. Also, I wanted to make a relatively short video. Spoilers for all 4 chapters, obviously. So yeah, let's start with number 4.
Hey! Why is it so dark in here?
I don't really know what the general opinion in the fanbase is when it comes to the other chapters, but I'm pretty sure the consensus is that chapter 1 is kind of the weakest. With that being said, is it bad or even mediocre? No, not at all. Chapter 1 is quite good. This game in general is of course improved by having played Undertale prior, but when it comes to chapter 1 in particular, I love how from the beginning it subverts your expectations about themes. Undertale is all about choice, how everything you decide matters, not just for the current playthrough, but also for future ones. With Deltarune, from the very beginning, you are told your choices don't matter. With how important the idea of fate becomes later in the game, Chapter 1 introduces this theme wonderfully. The initial character creation only to be discarded gives me chills every time I play it. It's also really fun how it plays with other RPG tropes, such as the idea of there being a team leader who commands the rest, and this is so well portrayed through Susie. Like yeah, she eventually comes around and learns to act and not attack everything, but you have to convince her to not pick violence. It's really fun to see her being completely dismissive of Kris and Ralsei to eventually learning to cooperate with them. From the very beginning, this game is charming in its art style, music, and the writing is pretty stellar. And chapter 1 is consistently funny and has many likable and interesting characters. The main trio of heroes is great of course, but the standout of chapter 1 is Lancer. I love this little fella, he's so perfect. He's hilarious in every single interaction you have with him, I feel for him whenever his dad is mean to him, and the connection he forms with Susie is very heartwarming. A lot of the appeal of this chapter for me comes out of these two. The running joke about how their villain plans never work out is very funny, but it never feels like the game is making the two of them the butt of a joke, since they are very self-aware and really just two buddies having fun. The sequence in which you build a weapon, holy shit, it is cinema. But the thing about chapter 1 is even though I like almost all of it, I don't really love a lot about it, with the exception of the aforementioned Lancer, who is, like I said, perfect. This first Dark World is pretty and fun to progress through, but it doesn't feel particularly unique, and it doesn't make me want to explore all of it like in the other chapters. The battle gameplay is dynamic and entertaining, but it still feels a little bare bones and simplistic. The enemies themed around board games are charming, but very few of them and their fights are true standouts. The secrets to be found are interesting, like the egg room and the secret boss Jebel, but the way you unlock them isn't particularly engaging, and Jebel, while having the best fight and theme in the chapter, feels a little underused, especially when you compare it to the other secret bosses. But my biggest issue with chapter 1 is its antagonist, the king. I find him extremely dull. I don't mind having villains that are evil just for the sake of being evil, but they have to have something else to make them appealing. Maybe it's the fact that they are funny, or maybe you love to hate them, or maybe it's because they feel genuinely menacing. The king is neither of these things. He feels like a very generic RPG bad guy. I think this is in part a result of how little screen time he gets, but he's by far the weakest aspect of this chapter. When it comes to chapter 1, while there's definitely stuff I love about it, there's also a lot of it that I just like, especially when comparing it to the other chapters. But like I said at the beginning, I still find it to be really good. A great start to this game, and I do have a ton of fun playing through it. A very good 7.5 out of 10.
Welcome to Bible study. We're all children of Jesus. Kumbaya, my Lord.
The latest chapter in this game also happens to be the most epic of them all so far. A sense of monumental build-up permeates the whole of chapter 4. This is in large part because of the story progression so far. Things feel a lot more set in stone compared to earlier chapters, but I think it's also in large part to the Dark World aesthetic. The Sanctuary feels the most serious and somber Dark World so far. The enemies that inhabit it, while still retaining the fun and quirkiness that defines this game, don't feel as goofy as the ones we've encountered before, both in their dialogues but also their designs. The church visual elements like the stained glass, the large stone arches and structures, and the gigantic libraries you find along the way make it feel grand and solemn. The music also plays a large part in creating this atmosphere. While the OSTs for the previous chapter's Dark Worlds felt quirky and lighthearted, the theme Dark Sanctuary in here feels as if it is manifesting destiny itself during a heroic quest. On the topic of destiny, this chapter delves deeper into the prophecy and the themes of a fixed fate and lack of choice that this game has been exploring. I love how both Susie and Ralsei interact with the prophecy. Ralsei trying to hide its darker aspects at every turn, while Susie fondly remembers your previous adventures, excitedly engages with her role of hero, and eventually rejects her supposed terrible fate. Really, with both chapters 3 and 4, Susie has kind of become the main character, and I'm all here for it. Her journey has been extremely compelling to watch, and I'm really excited for where Toby and his team take her next. The role of Kris as a puppet of the player is even clearer here, with him rejecting their more cruel actions as best as he can, and trying to be as independent as possible. That is particularly true during the Light World segment of this chapter, which may be my favorite part of the whole chapter. The chills I felt when Kris rips out the soul when you try to reach for the code inside the guitar. Oh man! The segment when you're trapped, left to wander the house through the vents, avoiding Kris, who now seems to be in league with the night, is absolutely spectacular. Even though it is filled with funny details and extremely cute and charming conversation between Susie and Noelle to eavesdrop on, it also manages to be one of the tensest sequences in the game so far. And this is even truer if you are following the Snowgrave route. This whole conversation between Noelle and Kris, and then you, is so horrifyingly dark and powerful. I love the continuation of the Snowgrave route that this chapter gave to us, even though I haven't played it myself, because I'll feel sad if I did. Also, Noelle's mom might be the most terrifying woman in existence, and that is coming from me, someone who is afraid of talking to any woman. Thankfully, all of this isn't to the expense of the good fun and great humor that the previous chapters provide. This game still is consistently funny, with some great NPCs like the standout Jagenstein and his fight, but of course, the standout is really another one. You know how every chapter has a certain funny guy that you grow to love? Chapter 1 has Lancer, Chapter 2 has Queen, and Chapter 3 has the best character in video game history. More on that later. Well, Chapter 4 has Gerson. God, I love this old ass turtle. He isn't the funniest of the bunch, but how his relationship with Susie grows and develops is extremely heartwarming. He almost gets to feel like a father to her, and his secret boss fight, oh my god, cinema. Andan should be ashamed, dude, what a ridiculous upgrade. The eventual harrowing climb towards the Roaring Fraud and the final battle against the Titan is a spectacular climax to an already epic chapter, an impeccable culmination of the journey thus far, and when everything seems to go wrong, Gerson is here, holy crap, what a badass, I love this turtle, but despite all this epicness and all the greatness this chapter has to offer, it isn't perfect. I do have some issues with it. The main one is exploration and movement through the Dark World. Even though I love it aesthetically, large parts of this map are designed around a center, which means there's a lot of backtracking. It can make the exploration of this Dark World feel a little tiring at times. Also, this is a very me problem and extremely nitpicky, but I didn't really enjoy the fully dark parts, at least during the first Sanctuary. They didn't add any challenge, but what they did add was a constant feeling that I was going to miss a secret or something. What if there's a chest in the darkness and I miss it? I need to check every corner, every dead end. Toby, why did you do this? Specifically to me, and particularly to piss me off. I don't want to miss any secret. Why did you do this? Sorry about that. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the navigation of this Dark World. My other only issue with this chapter is the lack of a more clear and present villain. While the Roaring Fraud is very cool and has a menacing vibe to it, they are barely in this chapter, and there's no surrogate like in the other three. Their presence at the end is felt a lot more, but I wish there was more of them throughout the chapter. Honestly, it feels crazy to put this chapter at number 3. This is an incredible 9 out of 10. But that just goes to show you how much I love the remaining 2. We are halfway through the ranking, and if you're enjoying the crap I make, consider subscribing. I'm currently jobless, and would love to have money for a Ralsei marketable plushie.
Welcome to the internet, come and take a seat. Would you like to see the news or any famous women's feet?
Holy shit, what a glow up. Like I talked about before, chapter 1 was good, I enjoyed. But chapter 2 is just a whole different beast. From the moment you enter the new Dark World, it instantly feels extremely unique. The cyber theme for this whole chapter is incredible, and when the OST, A Cyber World, hits, oh man, what a banger! All of it just works in harmony so perfectly well. The visuals, the music, the environments, and in particular the enemies. Every single one of them feels so fitting and creative, and all of their fights in this chapter feel much more unique and engaging. The enemies are truly incredible, with some of my favorites being Sweet Cap and Cakes, the Werewires, the Pop-Ups, and Task Manager. For reasons. Chapter 2 isn't my favorite chapter, obviously it is a number 2, but it does have my favorite Dark World. It is consistently charming and visually attractive, but out of all the Dark Worlds, it feels the most lived in. It doesn't feel as if it just got created for our heroes to have their adventures. The NPCs feel as if they already been living here for a long time, and the world itself works on its own. But it's not just the atmosphere and the general vibe of it that make it my favorite, but also from a gameplay standpoint. It has the perfect balance of linearity, so it makes it satisfying and intuitive to progress through it, and also enough freedom to explore around and find the many secrets there are. And speaking of secrets, this chapter introduced the only alternate route, at least for now, that there is in this game. The Snowgrave route, or Weird route, but that sounds lame, so I'll continue calling it Snowgrave. Again, I didn't personally play it, because it makes me sad, but it is such a dark and devastating route to follow, especially since the game is very clear in how it isn't Kris doing these awful things, but you. The slow transformation of Noelle as you continually force her to murder everyone is heartbreaking, and there are so many somber aspects and details to this storyline. Even though I think the writing was strong in chapter 1 and a really good start, again, what a glow up in chapter 2. If chapter 1 was funny, chapter 2 is hilarious. Toby smartly realized that the explosion joke was the funniest shit of all time, and while in chapter 1 he used it 3 times, in chapter 2 he used it 11 times. All of the returning characters here feel much more fleshed out, and with much more palpable chemistry between them. But the new characters are just as great. Noelle fits a really nice role in this story, another lightener that isn't really sure if what she's experiencing is real. She has so many great interactions, and her relationship with Susie is so adorable and cute. Go lesbians! And Berdly, holy shit, I love this arrogant dumbass. At first, he's such a perfect representation of an asshole you love to hate, and yet somehow the game is able to make him grow on you, especially with some of his more painful outcomes. It's also really nice from a representation standpoint. I really appreciate that Toby decided to include a character from the most oppressed group in society, gamers. But of course my favorite in this chapter is Queen. Where to begin, dude? Queen is one of the funniest characters in both of these games. Every single line of dialogue out of her is pure gold. Her voice is incredible, her design is immaculate, and her laugh is simply iconic. I know Queen is her actual name, but for real, what a queen, slay. She has a perfect shitposty vibe. Every single thing she does feels like a meme. Such a perfect characterization for a computer in the age of the internet. She is the most chaotic neutral character I've ever seen, and she's all the better for it. What really makes her shine is how present she is throughout the whole chapter, and how she has a distinct relationship with every single one of the lighteners. Her obsession with Noelle, her amusement at Susie's threats, her indifference towards Ralsei, her absolute disdain for Berdly, and her truce with Kris provides so much comedy gold. The final battle against her is also so much fun, different from anything else in the game, and the eventual reveal that she didn't know helping the knight would end the world is so funny. I adore Queen. Yeah, amazing chapter. Did I forget anything? No, I don't think so.
TV respects me.
I'm just kidding, of course I'm going to talk about him. Spamton G. Spamton, my beloved. Fun fact, the G actually stands for Germa.
A big shot!
This is my favorite secret boss so far. Not only the fight itself is amazing, but this character, dude, he is superb. Every line of dialogue out of his mouth is big, and the way he talks instantly paints the picture of how troubled he is. While Devil was just some random guy with a hard fight, Spamton's story is so tragic and painful and filled with theory fuel. I really like how from chapter 2 onwards, secret bosses are much more relevant to the story, characters and themes of the game. There's a lot more I could say about him and his fight, but that's for another video and another time. I'll just say that this moment after the fight, when Kris has a breakdown because he too is a puppet, gave me so much chills. Spamton and everything about him is incredible. Chapter 2 is truly the moment this game became incredible and a worthy rival to Undertale. Maybe an even better game, to be honest. Chapter 2 is a really incredible 9.5 out of 10.
TV respects me. It laughs with me, not at me.
You stupid.
Hell yeah, baby, it's Tenna. Look everybody, it's Tenna. Holy shit, look at him go. Hell yeah, Tenna, dance baby, dance. Oh my god, I love Tenna. Does chapter 3 have the best Dark World? No. Chapter 2 has it beaten. Does chapter 3 have the most epic feeling to it? No, I would say chapter 4 has it beaten. Does chapter 3 have the most interesting secrets? No, I would say chapter 2 also has it beaten in that department. But, does chapter 3 have Tenna? Yes. Hell yeah baby, Tenna, woo! Tenna is my favorite character in all of Undertale and Deltarune. That is not a joke, I'm not being exaggerated, it's not hyperbole. His final battle is legit one of the best bosses in this game. So creative, so funny, so unique, it is amazing. I love this Maniac TV dude. He's so incredible and funny, but also pathetic and compelling. God, I love him. Also, he reminds me of this dude from Mario Party 8. Am I the only one who gets the same vibe from them? Even though he's the best aspect of this chapter and my favorite character in this series, I don't want to leave you with the impression that he's the only reason I love Chapter 3. Chapter 3 as a whole has the most fun vibe to it. That's thanks in part to the incredible Tenna, but outside of him, the humor is top notch, and the first half of the chapter just being a bunch of minigames makes it so entertaining to play through. In particular, Liner's Live is so much fun, especially the It's TV Time cover. I know that one is unlocked in Chapter 4, but shut up, I'm giving the credit to Chapter 3. The enemies, while relatively simple, are extremely charming, especially Lanino and Lanina, and despite how simple the board game is, Deltarune finds ways to keep it fresh and engaging, with great puzzles and dialogues, and different ways of playing, such as when Susie changes the controllers, for example. Even though this chapter starts out lighthearted and hilarious, it has plenty of darkness to it, which becomes more and more prominent as you progress along. The shifting tone when Tenna keeps forcing you to play is perfectly executed, and even though he's going full-on unhinged villain, you still feel for him when he expresses his feelings of abandonment and failure. The secret video game you have to play to unlock the Shadow Mantle, while identical to the one you play on Tenna's show, makes for such a creepy experience. The eerie lack of music, the murder rampage you go on, and moments such as you got the ice key, you were consumed up, and when you murder Ralsei and Susie to level up, makes this part of the chapter so unsettling. And the ending, holy crap! Despite how I've been calling them the Roaring Fraud, this is in my opinion the hardest fight in all of Deltarune and Undertale. I'll admit that there not being a secret boss is a little disappointing, but I do like a lot that the secret is that you can actually beat the final boss. When I was eventually able to beat them, a beautiful sense of triumph and relief washed over me. And the ending. That's one more thing that Chapter 3 is the best in. Nothing in this game has chilled my whole body such as this moment. Pure cinema. Chapter 3 isn't perfect. While I love the dark world, it does feel very small, since most of it just takes place in Tenna's studio, and the exploration and progression part is relatively short-lived. It is still extremely charming and entertaining to play through, but I do wish it was a little bigger. So yeah, Chapter 3 ain't perfect, or the best in many aspects, but the highs of it are so incredibly high that I can't deny it has become my favorite chapter in Deltarune so far. It is an incredible 9.5 out of 10. And dude, it has Tenna, I mean just look at him go, let's fucking go, I love Tenna! So, that's the list. I can't wait to get comments about how wrong I am. There was honestly so much more I could have talked about, so many of the secrets this game has, so many details that just make it feel incredibly unique, and a ton of tiny interactions that make me love this world and characters even more. But like I said at the beginning, I wanted to make a relatively short video. There were so many times during the writing of this script that I began writing a passionate rant, only to smartly decide against it and cut it. I can do that when I make some rankings of more specific categories, and that will happen when the game is fully done. So, see you in 5 years. As usual, subscribe, comment, like, and that entire algorithm jazz. If you liked, make sure to let me know to boost my ego. If you didn't, let me know in what way I could improve. But be respectful, or I will cry. Okay guys, have a good one.